everybody. Welcome to the Carbonite Jedi, where the Force will be with you always. Tonight, we are going to be talking about our favorite lightsaber duels from the original trilogy and the prequels. We're not worried about the sequels yet, so we're just going to keep those on the back burner. But I have some guests that are here, and they're ready to get started. And the first person to stage is Scott. Dreadnought Scott. How's it going, man?
Hello, Carbonite Jedi. It's good to be here.
Good. Anything new going on with your channel or anything?
I manage 3 channels, and I've got some new content up on Living the Real Estate Life with Scott Culberson, which is incredibly boring for those who are not in real estate in Texas. So it is informational, and if you're in Texas, have a look. If you're not, don't bother.
All right. Well, that's some good news. Hey, Larry and Russell and Denisha, how are y'all doing? Thanks for coming by and saying hello. Now for our second guest, he is my buddy from work, and it is Denning Brothers Gaming, JD. Hey, JD.
Hey, how's it going? Good, how are you?
Good. So on your channel, how many games are you playing?
Right now, about like 3 or 4. Got on Mondays, my brother's I got his first 2 episodes of his Pokemon series, which was pretty fun. He's a character, so it's kind of funny to watch. And then on Wednesdays, we have it's kind of our survival series. We play some sort of survival-based games. So right now we're playing Grounded. We're getting close to the end on that. Just like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in the backyard, and there's all these bugs you have to fight and stuff, and trying to figure out how to get back to normal size. And then Fridays we play some sort of shooter game. We've been playing the finals a lot lately, but we might be starting to play some more Apex because a lot of new content dropped for season 20 of Apex. So that's pretty much it.
A lot of mods coming up for Apex, or
just a lot of just ability changes and stuff like that. So I'd be curious to see how much they changed.
Awesome. Look forward to that. Hey, Val. How's it going? Let me see that business card. Hey, Chase. How's it going? Revenge of the Sith is a masterpiece. Well, it's my favorite out of the prequels. I'll have to say that. Hey, Jerry. All right. Well, last but not least on our panel is a birthday boy, and that is Michael from Movies and Beyond. Happy birthday, man.
I forgot I told you about that. Yes. Thank you. I literally just got finished with the stream like 4 minutes ago.
Scott's got you a birthday cake.
Oh, look at that, man. Look at it. That's what I'm talking about. That is definitely what I'm talking about. Yeah, man. Totally unprepared, but I can throw this together, man. I'm like Star Wars. You know what I mean? I can do this. Hell yeah, man. Thanks for inviting me.
Party all night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You finally got to the age where you can drink now, right?
Yes. Yes, I am. Today is the day, gentlemen.
Today is the day.
Today is the day.
So make sure you drink all that Boone's Farm.
Yeah. Yes, Boone's Farm, or I was thinking Mad Dog 2020, maybe. Do they still sell 40 ounces of St. Ides? I could probably do that. There's a lot of things that, I've got like $6. I can just totally flow with it tonight and just
I'll send you a couple of Zimas.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, God, I remember Zima.
3 Zimas to the wind. What was that off of? It was Fanboys.
It was Fanboys.
Yeah, he's like, that's 3 Zimas to the wind, man.
That's a great line.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
Nasty drink.
So I'm going to go around clockwise, I guess, and ask each of y'all, what is, out of the 6 movies, the prequels and the originals trilogy, which movie has the best lightsaber duel for you? Or which one do you like the best? And I think I know Michael and JD's. I'm not sure about Scott's. But I'm going to go with Scott first.
I'm going classic, old school. I'm going Star Wars, Vader, and Obi-Wan. I'll go classic. I like the classic. It's not so flashy, but you feel like it's real. You feel like that really could have happened. In the future, of course. Or it seems more genuine as opposed to everything since then, including Luke fighting his father and that whole thing. Seems more choreographed and more staged. And I know they choreographed it. And I know they make sure they knew what the hell they were doing, so nobody got hurt. But it just seems more pure and more realistic. Some of the other stuff with the stuff going behind the back, I'm like, why don't you just slash him in half? He's got his lightsaber behind. He's vulnerable. Just kill him now. To do that. So
you're going with the original first lightsaber duel ever.
Yeah. The first one ever is my favorite of all time, and that and the one on Princess Bride when he makes it to the top of the cliff.
All right.
Sorry, we weren't talking Princess Bride, but I'm sorry, I had to throw that in there. That's a great battle.
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya.
It's crazy. It's the second time I've talked about this movie today.
Oh, really?
Yes, it is.
So classic. So classic.
All right, JD. I think I know what you're going to say, but go for it.
Yeah, mine's the Battle on Mustafar and Revenge of the Sith. It's action packed, very fast paced, and it's epic. It's hard to top.
Okay. All right. Michael?
I'm going to be a little different. I'm going to go a different direction than you think I'm going to go. Yes,
Okay.
The Battle of Mustafar was amazing, but not one of my favorite Star Wars movies. But Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan versus Maul, I thought was freaking amazing.
Very
it was
well choreographed.
Fast. Yes, very well choreographed. And when Qui-Gon falls, Obi-Wan and Darth Maul are killing it. Like, they're tearing it up. Like, you see how fast and how hard they're hitting those lightsabers, and it's just like, wow, man, like, this is crazy.
And when you go over the backstory of the meditation versus the pacing,
yep,
and the Jedi version of I'm going to take control, and the Sith version of gaining power is pacing, and getting more angry, and then poor Obi-Wan's in the background, he didn't know what to do, and yeah, it's really I agree, that's a good one too.
Yeah. So I have a funny story. My daughter, I was doing some videos earlier, and my young daughter at 7, she goes, "Dad, can we watch a Star Wars movie?" Which none of them ever asked me to do that before. And I was like, sure, which one do you want to watch? And she's like, oh, I don't know. And I was telling them all the different ones. So we sat down right before this live stream, and she chose The Phantom Menace to watch. So we're like halfway done with The Phantom Menace, and haven't got to the lightsaber scene yet, but
no nightmares yet.
Well, she kind of like jumped a little bit when they're going through Naboo, do the water in Naboo, and all those big
There's
fish
always
are there.
A bigger fish.
Yep. Yeah. And she looked at me and goes, "There's always a bigger fish." But, one thing that made me sad was she turned to me and said, "I really like Jar Jar Binks. He's funny." So, yeah. Anyhow.
Well, she hasn't met Chewbacca yet, so Chewbacca will take Jar Jar's place when she meets Chewbacca.
Maybe. Anyway, I'm going to have to go with Scott on the original Star Wars because it is the one that started them all. And if you're a little kid and you see that, it didn't matter if it was fast-paced or choreographed. Like you said, it looked real, like they were out to get it. I mean, even now it looks, you can tell Obi-Wan's a little frail, but when you're younger and you're seeing it for the first time, you're like, oh my gosh, if somebody gets hit, they're gone, with these lightsabers. So I have to do it. I have to go with that one.
I didn't think we were allowed to use like Herbert versus Stewie and Blue Harvest. I think that might be my favorite. I'm just kidding. Lightsaber battle of all time.
Okay, before we go to number 2, are there any honorable mentions that you might want to say from any of the TV series or the other, like, well, you can't really do Solo or Rogue One, but any of the TV
you could do
series.
Rogue. Well, I guess it's not lightsaber on lightsaber, but
Yeah.
boy, Vader had a moment in Rogue One that'll never be forgotten.
Oh yeah, that was pretty intense.
Yeah.
But like I said, Scott, do you have one on any of the
On offshoots?
any of the TV series?
On the offshoots, I think it would be The Mandalorian, and it would be when he was getting the staff. And I'm drawing a blank because I've only watched that series through once. But it was when he was getting that staff that was made of whatchamajigit, their armor, whatever the hell it is. But when he got that Beskar, yeah, it seemed like that staff was kind of like its own lightsaber. You know what I mean?
Are you talking about when he used the staff to beat the guy who had the dark saber?
I guess that may be what. No, I'm thinking more of the lady behind the wall. The lady.
I think I know he's talking about.
Yeah.
You're talking about when Ahsoka fought. What's her name? She was the villain.
Morgan. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. At least I think so. In the very early stages of the Mandalorian trilogy or Mandalorian series. So I thought that was kind of cool. But the Darksaber itself, not being a lightsaber, I thought added a new element. So I would give the Darksaber itself its own. Well, it has to be in its own category.
Actually, the Darksaber is a semi-lightsaber because it was made by Mandalorian Jedi.
So more backstory on that, and more episodes throwback to that, I think would be warranted, would be accepted, and I think everybody would enjoy that. Seeing more history on the dark. I mean, you could do a whole series on the Darksaber, and that'd be pretty cool.
Yep.
Let me write for Disney. I got this shit covered.
No, you're not. Never mind.
Hello, Kathleen. It's Scott. Yes. I enjoyed our Christmas party. Now it's time to get down to business. Get rid of Filoni, and you got me.
I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say it.
Scott, what are you doing hanging around with that? Beep.
All right, JD, what about you?
I'd say my honorable mention would be from the Obi-Wan series. It's not so much about like the lightsaber combat per se, but just the emotion and the battle between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan at the end, and just when he says like, "I guess my friend is truly dead," like just the emotion behind that battle was pretty intense, and I like that fight.
Okay, Michael, I know exactly which one you're going to go with.
I'm going with the same one JD went with.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so much behind that, and JD touched on it just a little bit there, dude. Anakin, I'm sorry, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. Like he was so broken over that for so long, and he was able to say goodbye, Darth. He knew Anakin was dead at that point, which then later, transfers into Luke talking to Obi-Wan, telling him, like, I thought you said Vader betrayed and killed my father. He's like, well, I did from a certain point of view. You know what I mean? So it tied into that really nicely with that. But yeah, definitely. Where did you think I was going with that?
Thought you were going to say Ahsoka when she fought Anakin.
It's good. Yeah, it is 100%. It's great, dude. But I think that Obi-Wan and Vader, dude, that was fantastic. They pulled a lot from Rebels, they did with that, but it's still
with the breaking of the mask.
Yeah, the impact that it had. Now if you want to talk about favorite sequences of all time, you're 100% right. You are. Like, that's to go through like the Clone Wars and everything. It was great.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Obi-Wan also. I mean, the dude, it just caught me in the feels when he's sitting there, and like you said, Obi-Wan was under this misconception, I should say, that Anakin / Darth Vader was dead because he left him on Mustafar burning to death, and all of a sudden he's alive, and he gets to say his goodbyes, So, and it was weird how his voice would go from Anakin to Darth Vader and back and forth again, like he was two different people talking. And so you kind of knew who he was talking to at that time. And he goes, when he's like at the very end, he's like, just like I'm going to kill you. And you knew that was Darth Vader, and that was the end of Anakin until Return of the Jedi. Yeah. When he miraculously does a, salvation for himself before he dies. Yeah. But all right, let's do number 2. What is your second favorite lightsaber duel in the prequels or the original?
Okay, so I did like the father-son duel. So I did like the Darth and Luke duel that happened in was it 2 or 3?
Both of them.
There's a sister. It's that one where Luke's kind of running away from him.
Return of Jedi.
I did like that a lot. I didn't like the scene with the Emperor on the big ship, and where he said, "Go ahead, take it. I can feel your rage." I didn't much care for that because it was too low hanging fruit. It's like, we know he's going to do it, and he's going to strike me down. I will grow my power. And I was just like, dude, he's not going to do that. That's not his thing. But I did like the one where Luke was running, because you could see that raw emotion of, I'm torn between killing my father, which I never had a father, and saving a whole bunch more people. I could kill my dad that I never had, but maybe if I don't kill him, we can go have a catch in the Field of Dreams. It'd be great. So.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Old school.
All right, JD, your turn.
I'll probably say this one's already been said, but the second one for me would be the Darth Vader or Darth Maul one, just because like when you see him open up the door and you see one lightsaber come out, and then you wait for a second, and then the second lightsaber comes out. That's just, I saw that when I was pretty young, so that I was like, whoa, I thought that was pretty epic. But then like the choreography was good, and then just like it kind of did a part like what Scott talked about, where Obi-Wan like kind of blocked behind his back and really quick blocked in front, just because the double blades are coming at him so fast from Darth Maul, and so that was one of the good fights.
Let's not forget about that epic score too while they're fighting. Duel of the Fates was playing.
Yeah,
exactly.
Mike likes that one in the shower.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I sure do. It's bedtime, girls. Yep. All right. So, Michael, what about you?
Number 2 would be Mustafar. Anakin,
okay.
Obi-Wan. Yeah, 100%. That's again another fantastic battle between the two, and the whole prequels was building up to that fight. What's it gonna be like? What's it gonna be like? Because it's got to happen. It's got to happen before the end.
I actually thought that fight went a little too long, especially when they were floating down the sea of lava. I thought they could have cut quite a bit of that off and still got the same impact. It seemed like typical Fast and Furious Hollywood. Longer is better. The longer we can make it, the more people will like it. And I think with that one, you could have chopped some of that literally of the fight down. You're still going to get I got the high ground. You're still going to get to the burning nubs of his, knees and thighs. You're still going to get to that part, but you had so much flying around, and I just thought I thought it was way too long.
I could add 10 more minutes to that. I would have loved all 10 of those minutes. I absolutely love that duel. One of my favorites. It was definitely hard to put the Maul fight in front of it. But at the end of the day, it's to me that the first one was brilliant. Phantom Menace, not so much, but the lightsaber duel was just absolutely fantastic. And Mustafar's not that far behind it for me, but definitely number 2.
Yeah, so you pray for me because I'm sitting through the Phantom Menace right now with my daughter. So
yeah,
say a prayer for me. Well, Scott, you haven't seen the Zack Snyder cut of Duel of Fates yet, so it's 4 hours long. They're
Oh my
fighting over
God.
lava and stuff. No, I'm just kidding. Because he did a Justice League director's cut, which is 4 hours long, of Superman and Batman and
Batman
Aquaman.
vs Superman or whatever.
Yeah. So I heard it was 4 hours long. I was like, man, you got to have some like fans to watch that. But if they had some Star Wars movies like that, I'd probably watch the whole thing just to say I did. I'm going to go with Mustafar as my second. That was really intense. One little slip and you're a crispy bacon, which Anakin turned out to be.
Well, I guess you couldn't smell it because Mustafar probably stinks really bad anyway.
Yeah, it probably smelled like sulfur.
Yeah, it smells really nasty. Yeah,
somebody had bad gas or something. Anyway, yeah, I'll go with Mustafar. All right, Scott, what about your third?
Okay, so I am going to go with the mall fight, and it's the mall fight. So they're fighting in the mall with Silent Bob, and the thing I really liked about that was the introduction of the dual lightsaber. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. That's the first time we see a non-traditional lightsaber, and I like that. I like that idea. I don't like it going backwards though. I like it going forwards because we got a dual lightsaber in the prequel, but we don't see any of that in the original because why? Because they were too traditionalist. We don't see it from anywhere else. You see what I'm saying? So I do like seeing them, in the postquel, in the Rey era. It makes total sense because now we're way, way, way in the future, and they figured out how to make other things. But I do like when I see them, and I accept that somebody else could have been a more clever Jedi and have created these other devices, nunchucks or whatever, out of their lightsabers or whatever. So that was the reason, along with the whole pacing and the energy field doors closing and stuff like that. And then the two people fighting one person was also the first time we saw that in this Star Wars universe. So that was pretty cool. So maybe I should move that up a little bit, but we'll leave it where it is for now.
I mean, with the dual-sided lightsaber, you have to remember in the original trilogy there were only two people that could use a lightsaber.
Right.
When you look back, you've got, look at Attack of the Clones. How many lightsabers you got running out there on Geneva? You know what I mean? Like, or Geonosis. It's just, there's just so much, there's so many more options. Like Vader he couldn't pull that off. Hell, he was swinging it with one hand half the time. He's mostly robotic.
Yeah.
And Luke learned from Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was, a traditionalist, like there were only two. And that was the whole like balance. Now, granted, Palpatine never got to pull his out, but he had two lightsabers. He uses two, but
did Ahsoka in the cartoon series? Did she do other interesting things with other lightsabers? I haven't watched it, so I don't know.
What do you mean by interesting things?
Michael, you froze.
Mike got froze.
Yeah.
She uses two lightsabers, but I don't know. But
they're both white.
I think one's a little shorter than the other.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one gets broke. Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen Ahsoka, one of them gets. I can't remember which one gets broken.
In Ahsoka or in the cartoon?
In Ahsoka, one of her white lightsabers gets broken, and then she takes that witch blade from Morgan Elspeth when she cuts her in half.
Right.
So I'm not sure. We'll have to wait till Michael gets back because he's our resident Ahsoka fan on here. I mean, I like Ahsoka, but so you said the Naboo with Darth Maul. What about you, JD? What's your third one?
I'm gonna say my third one is Obi-Wan versus General Grievous on Utapau. Just when he drops down and says hello there, and General Kenobi. I just like that, and all the droids and clones stop fighting and just let them duel it out. I think I just like when there's a lot of lightsabers.
Yeah.
He pulls out like 2 lightsabers and then his arms come apart and gets 2 more, and you're like, holy cow.
Have you seen the meme where Kenobi jumps down and he goes, "Hello there," and Grievous pulls out like 40 arms and he like spins all his lightsabers and cuts himself to pieces.
Yeah, I think I have seen that actually. But yeah, I thought that was like how Obi-Wan managed that to fight off 4 lightsabers and beat General Grievous. I think that was pretty cool fight.
And the funny thing is, he didn't even kill him with the lightsaber. He shot him in the chest with the blaster.
Yeah,
that's funny.
But did he put down the blaster in like disdain, like, "Ew, I don't like these things"? Or am I remembering that?
Yeah, after he climbed back up because he's like laying almost the ball off that platform.
He dropped his lightsaber. I think that's why Commander Cody picked it up.
Why didn't he use his? Get back to me. Why did he do that?
I don't know.
Maybe the lightsabers blocked the Force.
Yeah, because anybody could just
all of Grievous's lightsabers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I guess I'll go now. My third is the battle on Naboo with Darth Maul and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. I think it's fantastic. You get this sinking feeling, and at least I did when I was watching the movie, when it came to that part, when you see both Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon get separated, and Qui-Gon keeps fighting Darth Maul. I was sitting there and I was thinking, if both of them can't kill Darth Maul is going to like tear him up individually. So I'm sitting there and I get this sinking feeling in my chest when Obi-Wan's sitting there. I'm like, please hurry up. Please catch up to Qui-Gon before something bad happens. And of course, spoiler alert, he gets killed. And it was just, for me, sad. I wish Qui-Gon could have stayed.
Yeah. He's the only one that dies from getting stabbed in the stomach. Everybody else lives.
I know. I guess that's what
so many people were upset about that scene because, you cheap shotted him in the head. He's a Sith. Hello. That's not a cheap shot. That's how they play.
Yep.
So it was Qui-Gon, your guard was down just enough to get whacked in the skull and then poked in the tummy or chest. Whatever.
I think I saw a thing like, I haven't really watched much of the cartoon one either, but I think there's one where Darth Maul fights Obi-Wan again and kind of tries to do the same thing, but Obi-Wan's prepared for it and cuts his lightsaber in half right down the middle.
Yeah, I saw that specific one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he tried to do the same cheap shot, and it wasn't really a cheap shot, but same tactic, and Obi-Wan was ready for it. But Scott, let's go with your fourth one.
All right, so I'm going with Grievous, the Grievous battle. I thought I would have liked to have had more backstory on Grievous because I thought they did a horrible job. They pretty much just introduced him and like, here's a new character. And you didn't know, you just kind of had to make it up yourself. Oh, okay, I think it's this. I think it's that. You got to see his heart. And you see all these, he holds up the lightsabers like there were watches on Times Square. Like, here, have any watch, which I thought was hilarious because that's what I attributed it to is he's selling these watches on Times Square in his overcoat. But then you could definitely see that Obi-Wan was not happy that there were these lightsabers that he had that he could use, which meant that Grievous was force sensitive because he could use lightsaber, or can anybody pick one up and use it? So that kind of confused things because they really didn't delve into that, right then and there. I did like how he used more than one and they were spinning and all that. I like anytime they go into a different way of using the weapons. I wish they would have done more of that with the blasters too, but they really, because Princess Leia had a different blaster than Han Solo.
Yeah.
She had her own blaster for a while until she lost it. or got it taken away from her. Chewbacca had the crossbow thing. So I like anything to do with the weaponry.
Well, I read that Count Dooku trained Grievous in the use of lightsabers.
He says it too. Like he's like,
Yeah.
I've been trained in the ways of the Sith by Master Dooku or whatever.
Yep, and he's more prevalent in the Clone Wars cartoon. So there's a lot of him in there.
Yeah, I wish they'd make a show of him or something though. I think that'd be cool.
And he was actually a good guy, and I'm not sure how he kind of like got twisted to how he ended up with Count Dooku.
He was a shell of a man. So there you go.
Well, he was in a shuttle accident or something. They had to like give him a prosthetic body, and I think that it was him and two other people that are kind of like, if you mix them together, that's what George Lucas was kind of like portraying as what Anakin was going to go through. Like with Grievous, his body was, more machine than man. So
there he is.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Yeah, internet just took a crap, so I'm back.
But yeah, he was in the Clone Wars a lot. So, but that's what I was told about. And he said that in the movie, right, or in the cartoon about Dooku training him.
I think he said it right before their fight on Utapau. He's like, I was trained in the dark arts or the Sith ways by Count Dooku.
Okay.
Because that was after the fight with Yoda and Dooku, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that makes sense that they mentioned it then.
That was toward the end or middle endish of Revenge of the Sith. All right, so we've gone through 3, and was this 4?
That was my fourth. JD's
okay.
up.
Okay, JD, what's your 4th? And we'll get to you, Michael.
I think my 4th was the general, or no, my 4th wasn't general.
You already did Grievous.
Yeah, my 4th is. I think my 4th is gonna be from Revenge of the Sith when Obi-Wan and Anakin fight Count Dooku again and on the ship. I like that fight.
You
Let's
always
take them
take
together.
one.
It's a good one. You kind of see him you see a little bit of him decapitate Count Dooku.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of see his head bounce off the screen for a split second. But I just thought that was a good fight. Anakin learned from his mistakes from the Clone Wars, and yeah.
All right, Michael, you got 2 to do. You got to do 3 and 4.
These are easy ones for me. 3 is Luke, Vader, Empire. That one, I absolutely love that fight. And then 4 is Luke, Vader, Jedi. So back to back Luke versus Vader.
Well, in one he loses his hand, the other one he takes his dad's hand.
Well, yeah, not only did he lose his hand, he found out who his father was, and that was huge. I think that people take for granted how huge of a moment that was when it happened.
Yeah.
I was talking about Empire Strikes Back earlier today, and it's crazy. Like when that happened, it was just like jaw to the floor, of a reveal. Now it's, pop culture. It's just like everybody knows that.
So here's what's funny about that. I read the book before I went to go see the movie. So about a month before I went to go see the movie, I had read the book, and I was that old. I was a kid. It took me 5 times reading the first chapter to understand what the heck was going on, because I'm reading my first adult book, my first big boy book. Before then, I'm in elementary school, and I don't understand all this description of the snow and the cold and blah, blah, blah. And then you throw in a tauntaun. I'm like, what the hell's a tauntaun? And, you got to figure it out. So I read that, and then I got to the part about I'm your father. I'm like, oh, wow, that's something different. So
they spoiled the movie with the book before it even came out.
Well, I was dying to know
that?
what the heck. I was dying to know what was going to go on. So that's why. I mean,
not saying you did. I mean, them is in releasing it. Like, why would you? Like, that's crazy.
It was it was planned because the cover actually was the poster. So
Mhm.
this was all typical stuff. But they're thinking, it's the book. People aren't going to buy the book. But we actually went. My mom and I tried to find. Was it Eye of the Needle, which actually was the sequel to Star Wars, which when it got signed for a second movie, they pulled that book because basically it was written and it makes no sense whatsoever. It doesn't flow. It's not Lucas's thought process of what he wanted. He just wanted a sequel in case it hit. And when it did, they pulled it because literally one day we went and saw it at the bookstore in Brenham. And then the next week we came back and it's gone. And we asked where the book go. Oh, the publisher pulled it back. So, what? Crazy.
Wow.
So yeah, I read that, and I remember it to this day. Rocky Plee saw the movie before I did, and he said, "There's a big reveal in there." I said, "Yeah, I know." He said, "No, you don't." And I told him what the big reveal was. He said, "How'd you know that?" I read the book. He's like, "Oh man, it's cooler in the movie." I'm like, "Yeah, it probably is." He's trying to one up.
That sounds like typical kid talk right there on the playground. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Was this the second book that they with Timothy Zahn was Mind's Eye, right? Or was
I thought it was Eye of the Needle, but it very well could have been. All I'm aware of is Eye of the Needle, and then I've looked for it for years, and now you can find it in comic book form. But this was a book. The
first one was Hair of the Empire, right?
Mike's Googling it now.
That was the first one I read because I was under the impression it was a continuation of Return of the Jedi.
I do have 2 books with Han Solo and Chewbacca that came out afterwards that are somebody wrote. I don't know where. I still have them. I just don't know where they are.
Yeah, I was thinking of a Timothy Zahn, but you're right, Michael. It was Heir to the Empire.
Yeah,
it was Alan Dean Foster who did Splinter the Mind's Eye.
That's it.
For that was going to be the sequel to Star Wars, but like Scott said, Lucas didn't like it. He pulled it and rewrote Empire.
It makes more sense because if you read Splinter in the Mind's Eye, it's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't flow well at all.
And it's only Luke and Leia on a planet looking for, Jedi powers with Darth Vader coming after him. So
very narrow in concept.
Yeah.
So what's your next one, Michael? You did.
I didn't do mine yet.
Okay.
Wait, before I do mine, Michael, Scott had a question about Ahsoka's lightsabers.
Yeah.
Right when you got cut. What was your question, Scott?
So did she do some weird fancy things with lightsabers, like nunchucks or dual lightsabers or multiple lightsabers?
She had 2 lightsabers. I believe she started off with green, went to blue, and then to white.
Okay, because she's now the neutral, the gray Jedi.
Yeah, she left her blue lightsabers for Anakin to find to assume she was dead after Order 66. So she left them on the ground next to Rex's helmet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why she had to create new lightsabers, and that's when she came back in Rebels with the white. And the different sound. So the sound that you hear in The Mandalorian with her lightsabers and the Ahsoka show was the actual sound her lightsabers made in Rebels. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, those don't sound right." It's like, well, if you watch Rebels, it sounds exactly like they did in Rebels.
Right.
That's awesome.
And only hers sound that way. The rest of them sound the normal way. So I don't know what the lore is on how she made them and stuff like that. But she went through some lightsabers. She went through some phases.
So Michael, quick question on the Ahsoka series. Yeah. Was it her shorter lightsaber or her longer lightsaber that got broken?
I don't know. I didn't even know they were different sizes.
Yeah, one's shorter. One is like curved. It's kind of like a dueling lightsaber, like Count Dooku had, and the other was a long one. So,
you're talking about the handle.
Yeah, the handle.
And you're talking about the blade. Like, what the hell? Like, one was shorter than the other one. Like, that I didn't know that either. No. I think I ever really looked at the handles. but I've never been good at that either. I bet you if you laid a bunch of lightsabers down, the only one I could tell you was the one that Luke held in A New Hope. Like out of all of them, like I've always been bad at that. And maybe Dooku's, because that looked, that had a look to it that was way different. Yeah.
Yeah, Dooku's were, like I said, that the one that Ahsoka had
the curve,
curved, and Dooku's was curved because he was a really good duelist.
Yeah.
So I
bet he was a good flautist too.
I like flautists.
Chicken.
All right, so I'm going back and forth. The two I'm thinking of for 4 is, like Michael said. Well, his was 3, but in the Empire Strikes Back, Luke losing his hand and finding out his dad, or in Revenge of the Sith when Dooku fights Anakin and the Emperor or Palpatine tells him to kill, Dooku, and the look of betrayal on Dooku's face.
Yeah.
He's sitting there with no hands, on his knees. I'm probably going to go with Dooku, that one, because Dooku actually dies. He gets killed, and Anakin's such a weenie. He's such a weenie in that one. I swear. He sits there and he's like, he kills people, but then he's like, no, Mace Windu, the Chancellor needs a fair trial. Let's give him a fair trial. But then he's killing,
left and right
Dooku and little kids and everybody else. But no, when it suits his purposes, let's save them.
Well, he killed the little kids after.
Well, I know. And
he was Darth Vader.
Yeah.
He slayed the Sand People for killing his mother.
He did that.
Justified.
I mean, it's do it. You know what I mean? How much power is behind that?
I bet in Attack of the Clones, he was actually outside when Obi-Wan was in that bar. I bet Anakin was outside smoking those death sticks. Just
pounding them. Just pounding them.
Pounding them. All right, I'm going to go with Dooku for my 4th one. All right, Scott, what about your last one?
5th, I'm going to do Mustafar, because you can't leave that one out. There was some good exchanges there of lightsaber skills. And then, of course, the whole I've got the high ground, don't do it, I've got the high ground. I saw a funny meme today that you guys probably already have seen, but I was thinking about this today. And it was, I've got the high ground. And then Anakin says, okay, what do we do now? That's the end of the meme. Like, what, how would the series have moved on? Would have Darth Vader ever have come to pass had he said, yeah, you're right, you do have the high ground, I'm not going to jump over there and get my legs chopped off. But
Darth Vader just would have been crispy.
Well, yeah. So that's Mustafar is what I go with.
Okay. JD?
I'm going to go with Yoda versus Count Dooku. Just because that one was it was almost more comical than because Yoda is just a blur. He's just flying around, flipping around, jumping off things. You almost can't even, and it's just to see his little lightsaber and he's walking with the cane, all kind of with the limp, and then all of a sudden he's flipping around like a maniac. It was funny when I watched it as a kid, and it was kind of cool to see.
All prequel duels, man.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
That's well, here's the question, JD. If Anakin and Obi-Wan weren't knocked out, laid out on the floor, and Dooku was able to use them, as leverage, do you think Yoda would have won?
Probably. I mean, I don't know. They said Count Dooku is one of the best swordsmen, so I don't know. But I mean, because he beat Anakin, he beat Obi-Wan, and then he kind of held off Yoda. So,
well, Yoda trained him.
Yeah.
I'd put my paycheck that Yoda beats his ass. When he threw that lightning and Yoda blocked it, he didn't have nothing left after that.
Yeah, that's true.
Didn't like Dooku. I didn't like the whole line there about let's settle this with our lightsabers. Oh, good God. Let's get some better writers in here for this. That's horrible.
Poor Yaddle. Was that in Tales of the Jedi where he kills Yaddle?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I felt so bad for her. He crushed her. All right, Michael. What's your last one?
As much as I would love to talk about Geonosis with Mace Windu and killing Jango, but he didn't have a lightsaber to defend himself, but I just feel like that battle at least needs to be mentioned because that was the first time that you saw like the Jedi in full force. It was just, it was freaking amazing. And it is unfortunate, most of your picks will have to come from the prequels because there was only 3 lightsaber fights in the original trilogy. You know what I mean? You only have 3 to choose from, and we're picking 5. So it's like there's not a whole lot there. If I had to guess, I'd probably say I'd go with Obi-Wan versus General Grievous, just for the simple fact that he was able to hold so many lightsabers, and he. When you saw that originally, you were just like, how do you get past that defense? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he had 2 spinning, he was swinging the other 2. And I remember seeing that for the first time. Like, man, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. But that would be my number 5, Obi-Wan versus Grievous.
Yeah. When you realize that all those lightsabers are from Jedi that he killed, it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
And then Geonosis, I think that fight in the big arena like severely depleted the Jedi's numbers.
Yeah.
Because I think they only had 10 or 20,000 Jedi. And throughout the Clone Wars, it just wiped them out. And then that even more, in the Battle of Geonosis just destroyed the Jedi, which, Palpatine was working on underhandedly. So
yeah, I mean that was the start of the Clone Wars. Because Yoda was like the Clone Wars has begun, or however he said it in his Yoda type of way. So that battle was the start of the Clone Wars.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I'll have to say my number 5 is probably Luke and Vader in Return of the Jedi. He's become a full-fledged Jedi Knight, and he loses a little bit when Vader says, I'll have to take your sister and turn her to the dark side. They were trying to. I was actually watching a short clip of, excuse me, of George Lucas today when he was saying, how can we get Luke to go nuts? When he's trying not to fight his dad. And the only thing he could think of was, well, his sister. If we turn her to the dark side, maybe, he would want to protect her.
You kissed your sister. I shall punish her now.
Yeah.
If you will not change to the dark side, perhaps she will.
Yep. Yeah. And then he just loses it and he starts beating Darth Vader so bad.
Haymakers.
Well, yeah. I mean, he used his hate.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he used it. He was just able to control it.
Mm-hmm.
Emperor's like, now take your place beyond my side. He said, no, I'll never do that. And he's like, I'm a Jedi like my father before me. So be it, Jedi. You know what I mean? He was able to control that. He used it, but he didn't. And that's what always kept Anakin on the edge there, man. He had a lot of rage. He just didn't really use it.
Mm-hmm.
And Dooku mentioned that in their fight. You have so much anger, but you don't use it. So it's kind of crazy with the Skywalkers. It's there.
Yeah, it is.
One bad day away, one mom getting killed by some sand people away from taking over the galaxy. Seriously.
Well, I mean, you have Luke fighting his dad and he's losing it. And then all of a sudden he chops off his dad's arm and he looks and sees his dad's missing a hand and he looks at his hand and all of a sudden he just stops and realizes, this isn't the way. So,
he looked at what his father had become. You can see all the electrical hanging out of him, and he's like, man, I'm one hand in to becoming that already. You know what I mean? What's the Emperor gonna do to me to make me obedient? You know, like Vader's suit was not equipped to deal with any electricity,
no,
whatsoever.
That's why
he died so fast.
Yeah, and he never used Sith lightning.
Yeah.
So, but you know, that's what they should have done. All the Jedi should have. Well, there were no Jedi except for Obi-Wan and Yoda.
Yeah, he was dead. Yoda, Yoda was the biggest cop out of all of it. It's like it takes a Jedi master to beat Vader. It's like, well, then go. That's what you are. Like, no, I'll stay here. It's fine. You know, even Family Guy messed with that in their Empire, something dark side. He's like, well, then you should go. He's like, no, you're ready. You go. You know, he just wasn't leaving. It was great, man. But yeah, I mean, you could poke holes at the whole freaking series. Like Yoda should have just. Why you lose one fight and you're like, in hiding, I must go. Why? You know, like why? Why do you have to disappear? Why can't you go back and try again? You know, Yoda's promoting, let's just quit. We lost. We're going to take our ball. We're going to go home. That's what's going to happen. And he didn't even want to train Luke.
Yeah, no, he didn't until Obi-Wan like kind of pushed him to it.
Yeah.
You know, he was actually wanting to train Leia. He was, I read a story where Leia was his actual choice, and Obi-Wan pushed him because, you know, Obi-Wan had an attachment to Luke because he'd been watching him for, 20 years. Yeah. So,
well, according to the series, he had an attachment to Leia too because he had been watching her.
Yeah, but not as much as Luke.
He got pulled in to help save her a couple of times. I didn't like that storyline at all. I didn't think it flowed nicely with, where we ended up with, because she's like, Obi-Wan, you're our only hope. But when she met him, she didn't even know who the hell he was. Where she met him when she was a kid, where did she get scarred to where she blocked that out? Oh, you got old. I don't remember you at all. Yeah, it was. I don't like what they did with that. It's cute, seeing Leia as a child and being sassy teenager, but it didn't work with with what happened in Star Wars.
Yeah, the continuity of the story.
Yeah, it didn't flow.
I mean, you got to think about it. Leia was what? Leia and Luke were like 8 in that?
8 or 9. 8?
Okay, we'll say 8. How old were they in A New Hope?
18.
19.
Yeah, so
only
we're talking about 10 years. You know what I mean? Obi-Wan's got some aging to be doing. That's a bad 10 years.
Well, you're in a desert, man, with no lotion.
That's a bad 10 years. Yeah, something's got to happen.
Yeah. I think Uncle Owen, man, he took the worst of it, aging.
Yeah.
If you look at him in Star Wars compared to what he is, in Obi-Wan, that's
I thought they did a great job with Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. Yeah. And their green milk or blue milk, whatever that was.
Yeah. JD, did you drink the blue milk when you were in Florida?
Mm-hmm. Blue and green.
Did it have some vodka in it or Kahlua or something?
No, it was just like a fruit smoothie.
Yeah. I'd have to have some Kahlua or Bailey's Irish whiskey in it.
Yeah, so I would give an honorable mention to Mace Windu when he was fighting Jango Fett in there and he chops his head off. I'd totally do that because at the very beginning of that whole scene, he's up there and he pulls out his lightsaber and Dooku's standing right there and he's about to kill Jango Fett, and then he jumps down into the Coliseum to help all the other Jedi. So, but he gets Jango Fett, and then little Boba Fett looks at the helmet.
Papa.
Yeah.
I still think the best thing about that movie in particular was the sound that Jango Fett's ship made when it dropped the bombs. It's like,
yes.
Oh, that's so good.
Have you seen those memes where the girl goes, have you ever had a girl text you on Tinder or something like that? And the guy's like, No, but you'll like this. And it's that scene where it goes.
It's like what I think he's thinking about versus what he's really thinking about.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
Well, this was pretty cool. Scott, you got anything else you want to say about lightsaber duels or anything? Or
I still think we've come a long way in. I mean, you had that great interview. I can't remember the guy's name.
Roger Christian.
Yes, with him talking about how they made the originals work, and now I'm pretty sure it's all CGI now, but that's okay. We've come a long way with doing that, and I just, it's still the coolest thing ever is the whole idea of the lightsaber, and I don't think any weapon will ever replace the lightsaber as the coolest weapon ever. I mean, if you had let's do an award show for the coolest weapon ever, lightsaber takes 1, 2, and 3. At least 1, 2, and 3, maybe even 1, 2, and up to 5 as the coolest weapon ever produced in a movie.
Yeah.
There you go. That's all I have to say about that.
All right, JD, you got anything?
I don't think so. I think another honorable mention was gonna be like Mace Windu versus the Emperor. That fight was supposed to be a lot longer, but they shortened it and made it kind of lame. But I saw like the cut where it was actually a lot longer of a fight. And that would have been actually a cool fight for them to keep in there. But
yeah, I was like so disappointed how the Emperor like jumped and twirled over his desk and killed like 4 Jedi right in a row.
Wasted like 3 of them in a couple seconds.
And I read that there's something that the Sith did. If you'll notice, like right when he jumps, he like kind of screams.
Yeah.
It was some kind of like scream that was like supposed to knock him, dizzy or freeze him or something like that. And that's why he was able to attack him so fast. So I don't know.
Like a berserker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a siren. Yeah, I like that scene too. But it made me mad when Anakin chopped off Mace Windu's hand.
I
know. Mace was pretty shocked too. He had no clue Anakin was a bad guy. He had no clue. I do think Yoda had an idea. Or Yoda had seen it in the future because he did all that pondering over it or meditating or whatever. So he kind of saw the paths. But Windu's like, hey, bro, whatever. Let's make him, let's put him to work.
I think Obi-Wan was starting to see that part because he kept coming to Yoda and Windu and telling him, hey, Anakin is too proud. He's upset because he's not granted the title of master on the council, and and Mace Windu just wouldn't see it. He's like, oh, okay, well, whatever. So
I think we even saw in Tale of the Jedi that Count Dooku kind of got annoyed with Mace Windu too. Like, wasn't that who he was with before he kind of like he was on a mission with him or something? I think it was in Tales of the Jedi. And I think because Count Dooku or Mace Windu is like so by the book, Count Dooku, I can't remember exactly what happened, but I remember they were together.
Oh, that's right. And and then Count Dooku wanted kind of like to lighten up because Mace was like so tight. Yeah. Yeah. All right, Michael, anything you want to say?
No, man. I think we covered it all for, the movies, the lightsaber duels. I think that everything got, talked about. I really can't think of anything that we didn't at least touch on.
Okay.
For the lightsaber duels for those 6 movies. So I think I'm good, man.
Yeah, that was it was fun. Oh, real quick, I want to announce to everybody that I started the YouTube partnership program. So if you're interested in joining my channel, you can go out next to the subscribe button and join my channel. And one of the perks is on my videos for all members, you can watch my unedited videos, which are frustrating because I know I redo my lines so many times and I get really frustrated. So you'll see me yelling and screaming on my unedited videos. But that's it. If you feel like it, no pressure. All right, guys. If there's nobody else saying anything, anybody out in chat, any last words? No? Well, thank y'all guys for so much for being here. And I had a good time, and it was fun talking Star Wars with you guys. I really appreciate it. So I am going to take us out, and y'all remember the Force will be with you always. Bye, everybody.